Welcome to Crypto Law. I'm your host, Anne-Sophie Klutz. Welcome, Dr. Stephan Berger. Thank you so much for making time to speak to us.
Hello.
Hello. So you have the very important task of being the rapporteur for the European Parliament of this very important piece of legislation, the EU's crypto rules, the famous MiCA rules. So you have this very important task of steering them towards the next phase of the negotiations. And MiCA can become a global benchmark. Perhaps in some ways it already is setting the standard for how we think about crypto regulation. When you think about which parts of MiCA do you think will become the global standard?
Okay, so let's start a little bit globally. We are observing that the United States and the United Kingdom are now addressing crypto assets regulation more than ever. I'm convinced that these governments, UK and US, the whole world, is looking strongly at the European Union and the MiCA regulation. MiCA is the first crypto regulation so far. It provides legal certainty and customer protection, and at the same time, it fosters innovation because we are developing a framework, and in this framework, a lot of new things in the world of tokenization can develop. And by the way, MiCA has generated a lot of attention before the regulation was even launched. And for example, my proposal in MiCA was that the ECB, the European Central Bank, has to authorize new asset reference tokens such as Meta stablecoin DM. And one of the things that we can see is that DM is no longer in business, yeah, and it's no longer. They just resigned it, and so recently, Facebook or Meta has announced that it gave up on its currency project. This is certainly also due to the regulatory pressure coming from MiCA. And I personally had a lot of meetings with Meta and the DM Association. And so I just tell it because everybody can see that MiCA is seen worldwide.
I'm sure it is, for the right reasons, I think. Is there anything perhaps you'd prefer to see slightly differently in MiCA? You have made your amendments, you have pushed through some of those amendments successfully. Is there anything in this draft going to the next stage of the negotiations that you think we could improve or that you would like to see differently?
I think we have passed 1.5 year negotiations, and we have discussed that negotiation with all stakeholders within the MiCA process. And the political groups, they have done all a great job. Of course, we have different perspectives and different ideas. But in the end, I'm pleased that my proposal, for example, to link MiCA with the EU taxonomy of sustainable finance, I think we discuss it later, received an approval by the majority. And so the things that are left and what we are discussing, there are a lot of technical points. So to answer your question, I think that we can go to the trilogue and that we can be very optimistic that we will get in the end a very good solution.
Excellent to hear. So just coming back to the amendment you mentioned, your amendment, which was, as you mentioned, trying to find a compromise on the proposals to have specific rules on proof of work crypto assets, and then you tabled a compromise which in the end was accepted. So we can be optimistic that hopefully that will move forward and that the proof of work discussions that were quite controversial, perhaps quite intense, drew a lot of attention from the crypto community. Perhaps we can be quite optimistic, as you say, that we won't see those reappear in the next phase of the negotiations?
At the moment, I do not see any points of concern. And to be honest, I was surprised about the whole debate, because MiCA is about the tokenization, not about the Bitcoin. Yeah, but as it is in a political system, it all was mixed up and mixed, the whole debate, and so we had this discussion. I'm sure that my proposal to link MiCA with the EU taxonomy of sustainable finance, I think that I am on the same page with the Commission and the Council. And we had the first trilogue meeting, and so I do not have at the moment concerns.
Good. And then there was this other moment that got a lot of attention, but that was a discussion, the committee vote on the transfer of funds regulation, which made some proposals to expand the KYC, the know your customer rules, to a broader set of crypto transactions, including those involving self-hosted wallets. And that again drew a lot of criticism. It was one of those other moments where crypto Twitter was very, very active. Are we equally optimistic that perhaps we may find an answer to that committee vote? Or do you think, if it would go through, what do you think that would mean for the crypto industry in the EU?
But let me first explain the KYC rules and the transfer of funds regulation. The transfer of funds regulation is another report, and the rapporteur is Mr. Ochterson, because the whole thing of anti-money laundering is not in MiCA. It's the transfer of fund regulation, and unfortunately, the majority of the Econ Committee accepted the problematic passages. The EPP and myself, we voted against it. But my arguments are, if you have an unhosted wallet and you have to transfer maybe 20 euros, that's the same if you pay in cash in the supermarket. You do not have to show your passport or your ID in the supermarket for anti-money laundering. So what we need is a level playing field for both sides, and there are room for negotiations, I hope, in the trilogue. I heard that the Commission and the Council are not on this page. Yeah, I heard that the whole amendment came from the SND, but I'm not sure where it ends. I talked to my colleagues in the EPP committee, and I will talk to some other colleagues, but let's see where the trilogue ends. I'm not so, at this moment, I cannot say where it ends, but everything is possible. And in the end, my group EPP voted in favor for the whole transfer of funds regulation because we want anti-money laundering, but not we voted, of course, against this problematic thing in the transfer of funds regulation. So at this moment, I cannot, to be honest, I cannot say where it ends. And the thing is that people are using unhosted wallets. That are mostly the people who are very active in the crypto scene, who are developers, who are working with the blockchain technologies. And so I think we are hurting the complete wrong community with this transfer of funds regulation. In the end, we need rules for anti-money laundering, of course, but I'm not sure, and I think that this is a little bit too much.
And I think you made your views also clear on Twitter, where you indeed made that analogy between, well, do we really want to have know your customer rules when you just pay cash in a supermarket, which I think is an analogy that helps people understand what actually are we proposing here and why should we treat crypto assets in non-custodial wallets perhaps differently than cash or other payment transactions. I thought that was a really, really helpful analogy that you post on Twitter to show what the debate is about. So, okay, we have the MiCA regulation, we have the transfer funds regulation, which, as you say, is different rapporteur, different path. And you said before that the MiCA regulation is really about this tokenization, digital assets. Of course, the crypto industry moves so quickly. And then there are questions about what should we do about decentralized finance? What should we do about DAOs? Is that something that you think is just outside of the philosophy and the framework of MiCA? Or is that something that we should address now? Is that something you think we can address when these like DeFi and DAOs are in these early stages? Very difficult question. I know it's a difficult question.
It was one of the most discussed questions in the first trilogue. And of course, it's very hard to regulate a DAO when there is not just a living person you can talk to. Yeah. In the end, we agreed all in the first trilogue that we have to solve this problem. And of course, we must regulate this DAOs and the DeFi sector because it's all about money. And we need consumer protection, and we need rules, and we need frameworks. But I'm not sure if we can solve this problem completely in MiCA. Maybe we need another regulation. Maybe we need more experience, so this is one of the questions we have to solve in the coming trilogues. And to be honest, I know that you want to hear, okay, we can do it this way, but everybody has an opinion. Some people are there saying we do nothing. Some people are in the trilogue who are saying, okay, let's do something. And at this moment, the next thing, I don't know where it ends. We need a regulation, maybe an own regulation. I don't know. But in the end, I want to keep MiCA technology open. This is my aim, and so I do everything with this headline, and so let's see where it ends. But this is it's almost a philosophic question.
I see what you mean.
How to regulate the DAO?
Yeah, definitely. And perhaps, as you say, it's just too early days to see what we do with that. Perhaps it's not something that MiCA should address at this point. But that's a difficult task that you have, and the important task that you have. In the meantime, well, soon after these MiCA negotiations ended at the committee level, the parliamentary level, a little bit later, the UK government also announced its own crypto plans, which also focuses on stablecoins to some extent, overlapping with the aims of MiCA. Do you think this UK crypto plan in any ways will affect the negotiation, MiCA?
Okay, the UK government announced that stablecoins will be recognized as a valid form of payment. And in UK, there will be a plan to create own non-fungible tokens. So the UK government plans to create a task force to regulate crypto assets, but this will not have any impact on the further process around MiCA because we are planning much more than a task force. We are planning a complete supervisory system with EBA and ESMA, and so there's only a small effect. Of course, we see what they are doing, and we monitor every country, but the effect will be not so huge. But the crypto-friendly approach of the United Kingdom shows, first, it's good that we prevented the proof of work ban, yeah, and it's important to strengthen Europe as a location for innovation. We have to recognize the potential of technologies and not restricting it. And I see that in Great Britain there are attempts to create a technology open environmental system, and this is what I want to do. This is the same thing I want to do for Europe. So the discussion in the UK, this have impacts for my work.
I can see that. So definitely a lot of things, a lot of regulatory attention for stablecoins and other crypto developments. Now, you've talked to your colleagues, you're talking to trilogue discussions with the committee and the council. You've probably talked to many more people about crypto. In your view, what is the general level of understanding among your colleagues, perhaps other policymakers, about crypto, perhaps specific aspects of crypto? Is there anything that you think the crypto industry hasn't explained well enough, or we could explain better, or we could explain differently to make your task easier?
Okay. I understand the concerns of the crypto community. I understand concerns of the crypto industry. Other governments we discussed about the UK are crypto friendly, and it's good to see that we have a crypto community which is engaging in this topic by creating awareness. So, and I think a lot of politicians or even the whole society has to learn more about the whole technology and the whole development, because tokenization can change a lot, in the civil society, and can change a lot in the economic process. And maybe if you have tokenization, maybe you tokenize a house or some cards, or you give a token, in football, in soccer, all the stars,
forests and trees,
whatever. Yeah. My fantasy is not big enough to imagine what can happen. Yeah. So what we need is more awareness everywhere. Because we are now standing at the start of a complete change of behaving in between, not the economic process. This is about buying, selling, and producing, but the way to interact between companies and people, between the financial markets and people. And this changes a lot, and the way people are paying and the way people are interact between. This says a lot about their cultural behavior and being. So we need more awareness.
Good. And from what I hear you say, it's not just awareness about technology, but what the technology can do. Seeing the use cases, how it could impact government or society more broadly. And as an academic, I always wonder, are there any data gaps that you, in your task as a rapporteur, as a politician, that you see about the crypto industry? Do you say, well, we have enough empirical data to see, for example, about digital assets in general, about DeFi? Or do we have data gaps about, say, empirical data or interdisciplinary issues, more the sociological, anthropological issues? Is there anything like a data gap, a knowledge gap that you say would be really helpful for my job, and I think for your colleagues, that we should address, whether as academics or the industry?
Okay, the crypto asset industry is a very young industry, and we are at the beginning on the whole tokenization. And the tokenization, it will be as a groundbreaking as the introduction of the stock market. So, of course, we have a lack of information, of course. And we need more data. We need more. The World Economic Forum predicts that in the next 10 years, 10% of the global GDP will be tokenized. This makes over $10 trillion. So this number shows that we need more valid data.
There's a lot we need more. Is there anything you've noticed in your daily activities, in your role as a rapporteur? Anything else, any topics, trends that you see that we haven't discussed yet? Is there anything else you want to share with the people who are watching this interview?
What I want to share is that that people should start and develop. For me, as I said, awareness. And see that there is a new world rising, and to get in contact with this new world. This is what I want to say to the people. It's not a thing only just for a small group of people, intelligent or people or scientists or economic interested people. Everybody in the next 10 years will have something on the smartphone, yeah, and we'll have some tokens here and do something with it, yeah. And so this is what my experience was. When I talked to colleagues and people, nobody understood what I'm talking about. And this is what we have to change.
So the general public has to be aware of the potential impact of digital assets. Is there any specific advice you would give to the crypto industry in the EU? Is there anything there specifically that you would say to that audience? I know you've been talking to them a lot already. Is there anything that came out of the discussions that you think the broader audience should be aware of?
Yeah, we are. It does not last very long, and then we have MiCA, and so we have a good possibility to make investments here in Europe or in UK. Yeah, make investments here and build up the new economy here in Europe, because our framework is super, and we have a supervising architecture which is experienced, and so my wish is that we have investments here in Europe.
That's my wish too. It's a great note to end on. Thank you so much, Dr. Stephan Berger, for making time to speak to us, and lots of luck with the next phase of the negotiations of MiCA and everything else you're doing for the digital assets industry in the EU.
Okay.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much.